Hi everyone, it's Kim. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to bring you another Instant Pot recipe. Now don't get discouraged because this recipe also has instructions for a crock pot. So I'm going to make mine in the Instant Pot because last year I had made it in my crock pot and it's an all-day process. So when I found out that you could also make it in your Instant Pot, I thought I would go ahead and give this a try. So since I had some extra apples laying around, I just thought I would go ahead and make up a batch. Now the recipe is a skinny taste recipe, I don't know if I mentioned that yet. And it only calls for a few ingredients. It calls for 6 large apples, and since I had a couple of smaller ones, I just went ahead and put 8 there. And then it calls for a 1/3 cup of raw sugar, a 1/2 cup of light brown sugar not packed, a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, an 1/8 teaspoon of allspice, and an 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg. Now, of course, when I start looking through my cabinets, I don't have any allspice. So I thought all was lost, but then I consulted a friend, thank you Lisa, and she says that the apple pie spice that I use for my apple pie overnight oats is the exact ingredients that it's calling for. So since it was calling for more ground cinnamon than the other 2 ingredients, I went ahead and just pre-measured out some cinnamon and then added some of the apple pie spice. So if you haven't seen that yet, it looks like this. Comes in very handy. Like I said, I use this for my overnight oats. I just call them my apple pie overnight oats, and they're absolutely delicious. So I'm glad to find another use for that because I don't use a lot in my overnight oats. So it's nice to have another use for that spice. Now I also did make one more change to this recipe. Of course, you know I always do. It called for a 1/3 cup of raw sugar. I don't have nor use raw sugar, but I did have that container of that Truvia. I'll put it right here so you can see it. The Truvia sugar blend. And I'm just going to use that because, again, I bought it. I'm always trying to find uses for it. I bought it specifically for a recipe, so I'm going to use that instead. So other than that, that's the only changes that I made to the recipe, and I will link the recipe, the original recipe, below. And the recipe below will be the instructions for the crock pot. Okay, so if you watched my last video, that one was for my... What did I do? Oh, it was the Hungry Girl Scoopable Apple Pie. So I made that and I pulled out my apple core slicer and everybody seemed to love it. So I'm using that again today because anytime I peel and have my apples ready, I always use that. I'm going to grab a bowl so that I have that just to throw my apples in. So sorry if that's loud. And I'm just going to set this over here to the side. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this started. I'm not going to film peeling all of the apples because I know that can be kind of boring, but I will make sure, I'm just making sure the camera angle's good, I will make sure that I either speed up or maybe I'll just cut it out. I'll do a couple and just show you what I have here and then we'll go forward. So you notice the labels on it. I was going to wash my apples before I got started, so let me pause here and then wash my apples and then we'll get started. Okay, I've got those apples rinsed and I wanted to talk a bit about the Instant Pot. And you know, I use mine all the time. I will make a lot of like savory items in here, meats, things with garlic. I make my refried beans in this all the time. Well, when you make things like that, your ring will kind of it kind of picks up the flavor of whatever you cooked in it last. And this ring was supposed to be my sweet ring. So it was just, you know, things that weren't savory, no garlicky smell or anything. So I realized after I had started a recipe that I had forgotten and left my ring in there. So thank you Amazon for having some new rings out here. I'm going to use a colored ring this time. And that way maybe I won't forget to switch it out. So I'm gonna go ahead and just give this ring a little rinse. And then I'm gonna pop that right in my Instant Pot. I wanted to do this now while I was thinking about it so that the apples wouldn't go in here and then I would forget to do it. So I'm just gonna pop that right in. And hopefully you can see, it's just slide it right into the spot. And I had extra rings and I was super excited because I didn't think I had to order them, but then I realized they were for my 8-quart and not my 6-quart, and they wouldn't fit. Okay, so there. Hopefully that'll remind me to remove that and not have that get used for something that it's not intended to be used with. Okay, so back to the apples. I'm just gonna pop this on here and I'm going to peel, slice, and core it in one smooth motion. So done and done. I'm not worried about the extra little peels on this because when I'm done with this, I am going to use my Immersion Blender to blend this up. And I was just gonna cut this part out, but I think it's gonna be so stinking quick that I think we're just gonna go ahead and just chit chat through it. So, question to you, have you made apple butter before? And if so, what do you think? I mean, or, you know, do you make it often? Is it a seasonal thing? Is it something you just crave in the fall? I know that I grew up with apple butter at home, but it was always the jarred kind, and I'm sure it was not Weight Watcher friendly at all. The Skinny Taste recipe, as it sits, is 1 SmartPoint. I think she said it was 37 calories. I'm not sure what this one's gonna be. Again, I did change the recipe up a little bit. Isn't that kind of cool? Hopefully you're getting, let me see if you're getting the view of that. Yep, you sure are. Look, it's kind of going down there. All right, anyway, enough of that. Sometimes this just makes me laugh. I love how easy this thing is. And I know I got a couple of questions on this core slicer, and I picked this up at Menards. They were having some crazy sale, and I think I got it for $5. So when it went on sale, I picked up a couple of them and use them all the time in the fall. I know the grandkids come over, they like to use this just to peel their regular everyday apples. And whoever it was that told me to wet the bottom of that suction cup during my last video, thank you so much, because of the fact that that truly did work. And it seems to be staying in place a lot better now. If I wasn't talking for this, I think I would have already had these apples done. All right, 2 more to go. And then we will move on to the next part of this recipe. The cool thing about this recipe, I think it's just pretty much dump and go, which is kind of nice. And if you're making this in your crock pot, it is 8 hours on low to make this recipe. And I think that the Instant Pot recipe, hold on a second, I'll tell you exactly what that is as soon as I get done with this one. I think it'll be easier rather than me trying to guess and tell you, and then maybe somebody will write it down, and then you'll not be happy with me that I gave you incorrect directions. All right, just giving my hands a quick little rinse so they're not sticky. All right, so the Instant Pot directions are: you place everything in there, and you do it high pressure for 8 minutes, and then you let it come fully down on a natural release. So we're gonna do that, and then I will pick up the next set of instructions from there. So let's go ahead and get this started. Now, this did not say to do this, but I am going to spray the insert, the liner of my Instant Pot, and you see it's just stainless steel. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give that a quick little spray. I just don't want anything to have to stick, and I don't want to have to be scrubbing this for 2 days because I didn't spray it. Like I said, it's a little stickier. Maybe I should slice these. grab one of my knives here. I'm just going to slice these right down the middle. A little piece of this core here. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to dump all these in. If you don't have your peeler slicer in the right spot, or you don't have it dead on, sometimes you'll have just this little spots on it. I'm sure once I use the Immersion Blender, those will just be fine, but if I see them, I'll take them off. Isn't that so much easier than taking the time to peel your apples and then pull out your apple core? And, you know, I think it's just a lot quicker. Sometimes it's nice to invest in a couple of tools, especially if you're going to use them for several different things. And again, it just gets everyday use. It doesn't just only get, you know, used this time of year in the fall. A couple seeds on this one. Probably would be handy to have your apple core out in this instance, but I think I just got them off really quick, so it's not too bad. And again, I'm just probably being a nerd. All right, so I've got that done. Just going to pop that in half and pop those in there. Okay, so we have those in our Instant Pot. I'm going to switch angles here, bring you over, and then show you the inside. Okay, so now we're just going to dump in our other ingredients. I have a ½ cup of brown sugar. So I'm just gonna pour that in on top. I have that 1/3 cup of the Truvia. I'm just gonna sprinkle that in. And I did a 1/4 cup of the apple pie spice, and then another half, a little over a half, it was like kind of a little heaping of the cinnamon, just to kind of give me a little more. And hopefully I judged that right. I probably should have done a little more cinnamon, but I'm just gonna leave it there so that I don't overdo it. So I'm just gonna give this a quick stir. It smells good already. Just the mixture of the spices and the sugars and the apples. Yum. Okay, so I'm super excited because of the fact that I was not aware I could do this in my Instant Pot, and I thought I was gonna have to wait all day for this. So yay for another use of my Instant Pot. All right, just putting the top on. I'm gonna make sure that we are on sealing. All right, so we've got the button on sealing here in the back. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and put my manual button. I'm gonna bring the time down to 8 minutes. And then we're gonna let this do its thing. So stay tuned. Okay, welcome back. We have let our Instant Pot come to pressure. It's cooked 8 minutes on high. And then it has sat for about 25 minutes until the pin dropped. And you can see the pin here has dropped. And so that's called a natural release. You just let it sit there and do its thing until the pin drops, and then all the pressure is out. Now, if you want to make sure, you could always flip your knob here, but you can see there's no pressure left in the Instant Pot. So this is where the magic happens. We're going to open the lid and see what we have first of all. So hopefully you're getting a good look at that at the same time I am. We'll come just a little closer. So it kind of looks just like regular apples. So it says the next thing you have to do is to take your Immersion Blender and start to blend these. And I know there's a debate on whether or not if you blend your fruit, and does it count extra points. And in my thinking, blended fruit for smoothies is different than blended fruit for other recipes. So I am going to say that this is not going to fall into that category. Now in the recipe that I'm following, it does say it's 1 point, I think, for 1 tablespoon. I'll double check that. If it's different, I'll put it right here. But the next thing we need to do, let's just kind of carry on with the recipe and not get into that debate. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the stop button, otherwise known as the cancel button. And then I'm going to hit the saute button. And what we're going to do is we're going to start sauteing this. And what that's going to do is it's going to start cooking the apples down. Now I'm going to go ahead and start filming. I'm just going to keep filming while I do the immersion blending on this. I'll try to bring it here so you can see that. And then we'll see how this starts to turn out. I don't think I'm going to film the entire part, but I'll pop back in and out as it seems that this is changing. Because what I'm expecting this to do is I'm really expecting this to start to thicken and darken in color and go from there. So got my immersion blender, and let me tell you something, I am so excited that I finally got one of these, because for so long I would wait until this cooled down and start messing with this, and I burned myself. I've tried to put it into my food processor. So let me just get this blended up here. That's starting to pop a little bit. So I think I have it blended pretty good. I'm going to grab a spoon really quick and start to stir this so that it can keep that popping out of the way. Hopefully I didn't pop on my phone up there. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and I think I'm going to have to blend this a little bit more, but we're going to go ahead and get this part done first. Just going to keep stirring this and let that start to do its thing. Wow, I wasn't expecting that to start popping right away. That's kind of funny. Gonna have a sticky mess all over, I think. All right, I think I'm gonna throw a lid on this. Or you know what? Hold on. This always works too. I'm just gonna throw a plate over this to keep it from popping. And then I'm going to let that go for a few minutes, and then I will come back and see what we have. All right, we're going to give this a quick stir and see where we're at. It's been going just for, I don't know, maybe a minute or two. And let's see if that's starting to thicken for sure. And the color is starting to darken. All right. So we're going to let that keep going for a few more minutes and see where we're at. It's funny, I don't know if you can hear it. I don't know why making you go closer would help that, but apparently getting closer makes you hear. I don't know, but listen, see if you can hear it bubbling. It's really going in there, isn't it? Look, I finally got smart. I got my glove on. Then I forgot to take the, hold on. Maybe I'm not so smart. Bear with me. Technical difficulties. Look, no splattering if you got a little glove on. What was I thinking before? Can you see that in there? I don't think you can see that. All right, I'm gonna quit filming this and I'm just gonna show you the final product once we get done. Because I'm not sure you're getting the full picture of that in there. So stay tuned and I'll show you the final product. Okay, look at that. I'm gonna let that keep simmering just for a little while longer until a little more of that liquid cooks down and the color darkens about another shade or two. And then I think we're there. So it smells amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing. Okay, it's still looking pretty good. I am going to go ahead and saute this on low. I don't even know what I was thinking because I should have put this on the low saute so that it wasn't spluttering all over. Lesson learned. So I've got this on low saute now. I'm going to let this come back up to temperature, cook it down a little bit more, and I think we're all done.